So emotional memory is a term that I think, just came to for the first time a couple days ago. I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was trying to describe that, like, my emotional memory is like too good. Maybe good is the wrong word. That's why I paused so long. Let me backtrack. I was having this discussion about memory being like, you know how you can't control your memory, but you can do things to, like, help yourself if you know that your memory isn't great, or it was no one can remember everything, or some people have a photographic memory, and we were just talking about that, and then I was thinking, like, man, my emotional memory, like, is so just long lasting and, like, very, the recall on it is, like, too effective. And that's, again, not, I don't want to say good, because it's not necessarily a good thing. It's not necessarily, it's not a good thing necessarily to have extreme feelings the way that I do sometimes. And I was just thinking, like, man, my emotional memory for things, it's really difficult for me to leave things behind. It's really difficult for me to move on from things. Like, even if they're good things, they're not good in a certain context. Like, if I am remembering a great experience that I had with a person, and that person is no longer in my life due to whatever the reason is, like, I guess some people may be being, oh, that's like a sweet memory, and I'm like, to me, it's not, because, like, I would rather have that person around, you know, most likely. If I'm having sweet memories, or, like, good memories of time shared with a person. And this is why my friend says nostalgia is a useless emotion. So, useless in the fact that it doesn't do anything positive for you, which we can argue about sometime. I think I've talked about it once. I need to look that up. I keep forgetting to do that if I've had that conversation before, because I think I might have. Anyway, yeah, emotional memory is just like, I just hadn't really thought about it maybe in that way before, and just using, I've talked before about this for sure, that labels sometimes really help me see things really clear, or, like, help me learn more about myself. And emotional memory is one of those labels that I was like, oh, this makes sense now. Like, it makes sense. Like, I just was able to put it, just I don't know how to. It just clicked, and I am realizing that, okay, well, so let's say if someone has a really poor memory, just a mental memory that is incredibly poor, and you tell them one thing, and, you know, they're not going to remember it in 5 minutes. So one of the things that I talk about is, like, man, I use my phone. It's like, it's my way of remembering things that I'm not going to trust my memory. I think my memory is decent with some things. It just depends. But I know that if someone says, oh, pick me up next week on, like, my memory is a lot better for things that are, I mean, with most people, if you repeat that thing. So if you're in someone's life for a long time and they have a birthday, like, you know, or you really want to memorize their birthday, you do certain things so that you can try and memorize it. But if it's not a repeat occurrence, and it's like, hey, you've got an appointment at 7 a.m. on the next 3 weeks from now, I'm not going to remember that. Like, all by itself, I don't think I'll remember. So I need to write it down somewhere. I use the alarms on my phone. I keep going over here. Anyway, so there's tools that you can use if you have a poor memory. And I was just thinking, like, okay, well, are there tools that I mean, here's the other thing. There's people that have, like, a photographic memory, and it's really visceral for them, and it's like a condition. It's, like, not a good thing, and they have a really hard time with life. And I don't have that. It's not that strong, but, like, I feel like my emotional memory of being able to recall and feel too many things from too many scenarios and too many interactions with too many people of all kinds. Like, maybe really angry times, or really happy times, or really sad times, or things that were happy that now make me sad, or, like, whatever. Like, that emotional memory just is so easily retrievable and so strong that it's really difficult for me on sometimes a daily basis. And I didn't really think of it before. And I'm like, yeah, that, I guess, is just, I don't know. Like, I know that I'm not at, like, the most extreme end of that scale, but from my interactions and discussions with people, it seems like I'm definitely, like, if 5 was the average and 10 is the most, I'm probably somewhere in, like, the 7 area. Like, it seems like it's above average for me, or maybe just that I can't cope with it, and that my coping skill for my emotional memory is below average. I think it's probably both. I think that my emotional memory is stronger than most people's, is what it feels like from, again, conversations I've had with people and just getting to know people over years, and also that my coping skills for dealing with things like sadness, what I've talked about before, are below average. So that sucks. And if I'm drawing this kind of comparison back to like mental memory and things I can do to help my poor mental memory, I'm thinking of like what can I do to assist myself when I am feeling things too much. And that I don't know. I think one of the things goes back to the old chestnut of sitting in sadness and how that's really difficult for me to do. I don't know how to cope with it. I don't know how to deal with it. It's like overwhelming. It feels like it's never going to stop. And it's really anxiety inducing. But the only thing you can do is like logic your way out of it for me. The only thing I can do is logic my way out of it and be like, it's not going to last forever. And where that whole thing goes of like sadness is a tunnel, not a pit. And just like you can come out the other side, you can see the other side. It's going to be dark for a little while and then you'll come out of it. But like, that's still really difficult. Like, I don't know when that'll get better, like how much I practice it. And I don't know what that means to just like feel that thing. I feel like maybe that is when, like if I'm having high emotional memory times and I get really bummed out, maybe that's a great time to meditate. Maybe that is a time where I can sit in sadness and just do nothing else because I don't want to distract myself from those feelings. I think that if I were to write those feelings, it would also be like feeling those feelings and like maybe like working them through and helping them get out. That's a pretty obvious one, but the thing is for me that when emotions are really overwhelming, especially sadness, because I'm not used to it. Like I feel sadness much more than I feel anger now, and this is repetition. And part of it is because like I know that both of those things are stemming from pain, and like I had expressed anger like a lot, even though like pain is what I was feeling, and I expressed anger a lot rather than expressing sadness. Then that's really more true to what that feeling is. And it's much healthier, I feel now, but it's still horrifying. Like it doesn't feel good. Like it's not comfortable. I don't know what to do with it. I know what to do with anger. Like that's easier, but it's more destructive. But it doesn't feel destructive. Whereas sadness is like logically it's much less destructive. It's much more healthy. It seems, but it's scary for me. So meditating would be a thing that maybe I should do during those times. I'm just like coming to that realization now. Like if I'm overwhelmed with emotion, if I'm overwhelmed with sadness specifically, I can't do much anyway. I could try to distract myself, but lately that doesn't work. Lately, it's the waves that come in are like stay in bed and do nothing, and that's never really been a part of my life before, and now it is. So if I feel like that I can't just do something productive with that, I mean sadness, with that energy or whatever, or with that, like if I feel like I can't distract myself in a productive way either, then like I guess that's the time I need to just like sit with it and just like stay with it and be like, hey, this is time to like just productively do nothing would be to meditate, and hopefully that would also make this time much less. Like it would just be like this won't happen for long because you're actively doing nothing, but that thing isn't nothing, but I mean it feels like it, but it's actively being like, okay, let's just sit with this. I don't know. I think I might have just solved like a huge problem for myself, and I'm kind of excited. And I've talked about meditating for so long because I barely do it, and I feel like it is good practice for me to do. It's just really difficult. It's difficult for me to just like sit and not do something. And part of that is the fear. Part of that is a fear that like if I don't distract myself or like stay productive, then I'm going to like have all the sads. They're all going to come in. I don't know what to do with them. So some of it is like I like to stay really productive, and some of it is like I want to distract myself. Usually I try to stay productive from getting up until bedtime, like distracting in good ways, being distracted with being productive. And sometimes they're like really healthy. Like, I mean, it's not like distracting. My podcast is my example. Sorry. So like if I'm creating art or mountain biking, that's like a distraction possibly from my feelings or from pain, but it's productive because I'm learning about myself. Maybe I am working through some of that pain or feelings or whatever. I'm just expressing and creating. Or mountain biking would be like a mindfulness activity. I am like focused solely on one thing, and it helps me process some things in this other way. But podcasts, it's like I listen to podcasts a lot, and they help distract me from just like silence of like if I'm just washing dishes or like making supper or sometimes even like getting ready for bed or showering or whatever, that like I don't have that room to breathe, and I like not having that room to breathe, but this is where the distraction isn't necessarily productive. It seems like it, maybe because I'm learning something from this podcast or being entertained or challenged or whatever, but it's like the amount that I listen is like not letting me process some things because I don't want to be left alone with those thoughts. And what happens is that at nighttime, it's time to go to bed. That is when lately I've been in a horrible cycle again of like I want to go to sleep. I don't have like once I decide to go to sleep, I don't really have much of a problem with going to sleep usually, but in the past couple months, it's been a lot more extreme where I do have a harder time falling asleep. And again, if too many things are going on with me to read, and I love reading, but there's too much like stuff that needs to come out and get worked through or whatever. So, and I don't really know how to resolve it on my own. It's one of those really difficult things where it's like, if a lot of my emotions are stemming from a relationship and I can't resolve my feelings with that other person, then I'm left to deal with it on my own, and I don't really have the skills to do that. It's really difficult for me. So, it overwhelms me, so I feel too distracted to read, so I'll go on my phone. And I'll sit there and watch like Facebook videos for sometimes hours, and then I'm going to bed late, and that's a whole other cycle. It's horrible because then I'm getting up late and then like, or not getting enough sleep because I get up early or whatever it is. But that's this horrible part right now where I'm distracting myself too much, and it's not productive at all. It's called a complete waste of time. It's not like every once in a while I need to relax and have some entertainment, let yourself breathe a bit. It's not that. It's like I could just go to bed right now and that would be the healthier choice. But like for the however long it would take to fall asleep because all this stuff is going on, I don't want to deal with that. So I think planned meditation before bed would really be helpful. I mean, morning would probably be really helpful too. And any time that I have time, even if it's during the middle of the day, and I just need to sit for like friggin' 5 minutes or less or whatever to just do that, that might be incredibly helpful for me. And the more that I've been meditating lately, the better I feel. But most of it has been outdoors, like taking a break from riding trails. There's like a couple spots where I'm like, man, I just want to sit here and just sit and just exist. And that feels really nice. So I want to make that a better practice. But anyway, this really branched off into some other stuff, which is good. But this started with this like concept of emotional memory and how it's like, I don't know how to control my emotional memory. I don't think I can. Just like feel, I mean, it goes hand in hand with like big feelings and feeling big feelings, but my memory I once wrote memory is a tactless device because it's like, it doesn't care. Like I can't control what I remember and what I don't emotionally, really. Like it's really difficult for me to just like bury emotions. Like things just come up and it's like, that's just, I don't know, it just, whatever. It just came up and I feel it and it is too strong for me just to sometimes be like, oh, okay, yeah, that was the thing I felt, and see you later, bye. It takes a really, really long time for things to not affect me anymore. Like, certain things take years for me just to be like, yeah, that happened and it really sucked, but I'm over it. Like, it takes a long time. Anyway, yeah, that's emotional memory for me, I guess.